Coach Prime, man, I'm telling you, he is going to work in that transfer portal. We've already seen it so far in terms of guys they have allowed out of Colorado / maybe helped out of Colorado, and the guys they've brought in with Travis Hunter, Cavassier Smoke, Shedeur Sanders, Jimmy Horn Jr. Like, we could go down the list here of all the ballers they got at Colorado. But listen, Coach Prime, man, he's not done. You did the purge, got a lot of guys out of Colorado. Now you make the move to go after the guys that you want. And he said on the Pat McAfee show, listen, we had to get the furniture out to go and get the new furniture that we want in this nice, beautiful house. It's kind of funny to say, but I like the way he's going with it. I like what they're trying to do in terms of flipping the roster. 76% at this point in time will be new players on Colorado's roster. Meaning yesterday's Colorado, the 1-11 Colorado, it's hard to even look at those statistics they had from a season ago because the guys executing what they had on the field a season ago, for the majority, the large majority, are no longer in Boulder, Colorado. So with that now being the case, who else are they going to add? Because the transfer portal continues to churn. April 30th, the last day you can enter your name. You can commit after that, but that's the last day to enter your name. There's a lot of names in the portal right now that Colorado is currently targeting. Now, Matt Zenitz does a phenomenal job for us here at On 3. He's got an intel piece out right now about the players that Colorado is targeting in the transfer portal. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. Make sure you go check that out on on3.com. Not going to want to miss it. But here is a sample of some of the players that he mentioned. This is not an all-inclusive list, so again, go read the article. It's got the whole list of players and the breakdown. He's already hit on one of them in terms of guys that have committed from that list to Colorado. But without further ado, let's kind of jump into this these key players that I'm looking at right now when it comes to who Coach Prime could add. And the first guy that caught my eye when looking at Matt Zenitz's list was Savelle Smalls, the edge from Washington. Now, we've talked about Savelle on this program before when he jumped into the portal because just as I was saying with Prince Kali, Savelle Smalls, a 5-star talent. He had his pick of the litter when it came to where he wanted to go out of high school. A guy from the state of Washington would make sense if he wanted to stay on the West Coast and be at Colorado. But the thing with him, same thing I said with Prince Kali, I think is 100% true with Savelle Smalls. Just because you haven't seen it yet from him, just because he hasn't delivered on the 5-star billing, doesn't mean it's not there. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of a new scenario, new scenery for a guy like him to be able to hit overdrive and be successful in a new situation. So I would keep an eye on Savelle Smalls. It sounds like they are very firmly in the mix for him. Now, what it would mean for Colorado to land a Savelle Smalls, same thing I was saying before with the other two players they just landed with McClendon and with Gant. Your talent level on the defensive side, one, just takes an enormous upgrade. The other piece of this, which is maybe more important, Colorado has the skill players, but like I was saying, they need to build this thing wide. You got to have it in the trenches. You got to be able to compete week in and week out physically. That's how this team is eventually going to get to the kind of competitive they want to be. So adding a 5-star talent in Savelle Smalls, just because you haven't seen it yet at Washington, does not mean it's not under the hood for him. So that'd be a very big get for Colorado should they land a Savelle Smalls. Now, let's stay on the line of scrimmage, that is, but let's go to the offensive side. And one guy they're targeting right now is Cameron Johnson, interior offensive lineman, a guard from Houston. He was first team all AAC last season for Houston, and he is set to visit Colorado this coming weekend, I believe. He has already visited USC. So if you're one of those people that like to watch recruiting by nature of, hey, who else wants this kid? Who else are we recruiting against? And you kind of judge the value of a recruit based on that. Lincoln Riley wanted him. Okay, so USC was very much so in the mix, might still be in the mix. Not sure where they sit right now after adding Emmanuel Pregnon. But if you add a Cameron Johnson, you add, just like I was saying with Savelle Smalls, it has to start in the trenches. If you can at least be competitive on the line of scrimmage, I don't care who you have wide receiver. I don't care who you have at quarterback. You're never going to reach national competitive level if you're not able to start in the trenches and at least get the play started. College football has changed a lot over the years, and we've done a lot more things with getting the ball out in space and playing with tempo and being able to do more with less schematically. But listen, this game is still won by big, strong human beings. You don't believe me? Look at the college football playoff a season ago. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, TCU, and then TCU didn't have the big human beings when they met up with Georgia, and that was kind of what it was. So without getting too far down a rabbit hole, both Savelle Smalls and Cameron Johnson would be enormous additions to getting Colorado to a better physical level. So I like the move there by Coach Prime to target both of those guys. Before we move further here, make sure you're locked in and subscribe to the On3 YouTube channel. We love college football. You love college football. We talk about it here every single day. This is the People's Show, so make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're following me as well on Twitter and on Instagram. This is a college football community. A show, yes, but a community. I want y'all a part of it, and I want y'all to reach out and make this your own show as we are trying to do that right now. So thank you for that. Now, another cat they're after right now, Alton McCaskill, a teammate of Cameron Johnson, running back at Houston. He was the AAC Rookie of the Year in 2021, ran for 16 touchdowns, was dinged up a little bit last year, but I'm telling you, this dude can play. Right? I mean, you turn on the tape, it is very evident that Alton McCaskill is a guy that you want on your football team, does a lot for you out of the backfield, catching the football, very natural pass catcher, runs upright a little bit, but only because he's so fast. You're able to run upright when you can run away from people like that. Colorado's not in position to be shorthanded at the running back room. They've already got Cavassier Smoke. They've got Dylan Edwards. Both those guys I expect to contribute. But with how physical the game is and who they're going to be playing against, it is virtually impossible to go wire to wire with the same running back. If Colorado could be by committee and had fresh legs every single drive, that would be, I think, the world you'd want to live in. Helps Shedeur Sanders, helps the offensive line, allows you to be more flexible with the kind of game you're calling if you're the OC. Like, there's so much that rides on having the running back room correct. They've got some options, but if you could add an Alton McCaskill, that would be a very big deal for Coach Prime, and that would, I think, equip them to really get to where they want to go long term. Now, here's another guy that is very fascinating for the conversation around Colorado, and that's Jaquez Robinson, a corner from Alabama. I'll just stop right there. I have a rule of thumb when it comes to recruiting defensive backs, especially through the portal. Anybody that was good enough for Nick Saban or Kirby Smart, they're good enough for my football team. I don't care how much you played. I don't care what your production level was. And for the record, Jaquez Robinson, former four-star guy, did have snaps at Alabama. If you're good enough to play for Nick Saban, you're good enough for my football team. And I think that's the position that Colorado finds themselves in right now. Cormani McClain, I expect to contribute to some degree as a freshman. Travis Hunter, you expect to contribute as well. But he's playing both ways. Cormani McClain's only a freshman. You need to have answers in the secondary because you play against a lot of really freaking good quarterbacks in the Pac-12. Like, let's just be honest here. You're going to play Caleb Williams. You're going to play Bo Nix. You're going to play Cam Rising. You better have answers in the secondary. And for Coach Prime, man, for him being the best cornerback to ever exist, have to imagine his recruiting pitch is pretty competitive for someone like a Jaquez Robinson. He's already visited last weekend, that is, to Boulder, Colorado. So keep an eye on that recruitment. I think he could be a guy that pops even after we get off the air here. He's a guy that I think you got to keep an eye on. And like I said, you're good enough to play at Bama. You're good enough to play for me. I'll leave it at that. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.